Hilchas Eidus, Perek Achados. So we learned that there's dinim of a Rosh's Posel Eidus. A Rosh B'Pashtus means we know he's a Rosh. It was established that he was a Rosh. So then he's Posel Eidus. Then there's another din, the Mashal Aroya, which is Aroya of his own behemoths. So he's Becheskas, that he's Roya also Besadis Acherim, and he's Lekech Min HaGezel. So Midrabban is Asur. In other words, Midei Raisa, the fact that he's doing something which we could assume that he's doing something else, that doesn't make him possible. The Pasha, to become possible, you have to have Eidus that he's possible. The fact that he's doing something which is Becheskas, that he's doing something else, is not going to possible. But that's a Drabban Dikadin. That since he's doing something which is Becheskas, that he's Rei Besadis Acherim, al there is Mafrichiyenim, which Becheskas, that he goes and takes from other people, so Memela, so that also causes him to become possible with Drabban. So over here also we're having a din that someone's Ein Alei B'Mikra, V'Lei B'Mishnah, V'Lei B'Derech Eretz, so he's Becheskas that he's a Rasha, even though we don't have Eidus that he's a Rasha. He's Becheskas, he's a Rasha. So Midrabanan, he's Pasal Eidus. That's the Pashto of the din. Perek Achados. Mi she'ein Alei B'Mikra, V'Lei B'Mishnah, V'Lei B'Derech Eretz, is Areza Becheskas Rasha, and being Becheskas Rasha is Upasal Eidus Midrabanan. That's a Psul Midrabanan when a person is Becheskas Rasha. Shekol Mi she'yored al ad kach, if he's such a massive that in b'mikra v'mishnah v'leib derech eretz is chazok shu'ever al reiv ha'averis she'yavei liyodei, and memela he's becheskas rasha. Now the touch of the words of v'leib derech eretz is an argument in pshat and what's v'leib derech eretz. The Rambam in Pirush HaMishnayos says the ein derech eretz is ein helech b'derech ha'yisharim. Be'emes Tzemach Tzedek is a Tshuvas Tzemach Tzedek also that he mentions pshat in the touch of ein b'derech eretz, that the pshat of ein b'derech eretz means he doesn't fear in a proper manner. He acts in a way which is not proper. It's not the derech hayisharim. You know, in anhogas ha'adam bein adam u'chaveri. Not we know that he's a Rasha, but in anhogas ha'adam bein adam u'chaveri he doesn't act derech yisharim. Others learn the Adrameh learns that the taich of ein derech eretz means he doesn't have a parnasa. He doesn't have any other he doesn't have a parnasa. He's a person that doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a business. It's a person that's eini min hayishuv. That's eini b'derech eretz. Al kol ponim is misha eini b'mikra v'misha b'derech eretz. So he's v'cheskas rosh and he's posel midrabon lefichach. So ein moisen Eidus lam haaretz ve'ein mekabel mimenu Eidus because he's eini b'mikra v'lei b'mishnah elim kein chulzak this amora shu eisig b'mitzvus u'b'gmilas chasodim v'noyeg b'darkei hayisharim v'yesh b'derech eretz. So the Rambam like over here says v'noyeg b'darkei hayisharim v'yesh b'derech eretz with the mashmois advarim, the pashtus mashmois advarim. We're not talking about a person that's oisik b'yeshuv shaleim. It means yesh b'derech eretz. He acts in a way that's a proper way. So that is mekabel midusei. Afal pishu ha'aretz ve'ein eli b'mikra v'eli b'mishnah. Is again. The Rambam clearly says that someone's eini b'mikra v'eli b'mishnah v'eli b'derech eretz. So he is becheskas Rasha and he's possible Eidus midrabon. Now on Ha'aretz, we don't really know that he's eini b'derech eretz. We really don't know that he's eini b'derech eretz. But we know he's eini b'mikra ve'eini b'mishnah. So we say like this: if we know that he's oisik b'mitzvos u'b'gimilas chasodim and b'derech eretz u'b'darkei yisharim, so then he's kosher Eidus. Masha'enkin, if we don't know that, so then we can assume that if he's a Eini b'mikra, Eini b'mishnah, so mistama, he also doesn't have the other inyanim, so he goes into the category. So like here we're like assuming that since he's Eini b'mikra, Eini b'mishnah, so Mele is also Eini eisik b'derech eretz, and once he's Eini b'mikra, Eini b'mishnah, Eini b'derech eretz, so Mele is b'cheskas Rasha. That seems to be the avonos advarim. Because we start off, the Rambam says clearly a person, we know about all three pratim, then the Rambam says, someone that's an Amoritz, if we know that he's oisik b'derech eretz, he's oisik b'darkei yisharim, he's oisik b'mitzvos, so then he's kosher Eidus. But if not, he's posel Eidus. And Nimtzah Seimer, so the Rambam concludes, Halacha Gimel, Nimtzah Seimer, Kol Talmid Chachamim is b'cheskes kosher. Since he's a Talmid Chachamim, so he's b'cheskes kosher achi posel. And b'chol Amoritz, since he's an Amoritz, over here is b'cheskes posel. And as Amoritz means he's eini b'lei b'mikra, b'lei b'mishnah, so Memela we assume that he's also eini b'derech eretz. And even though he's an Amoritz, nevertheless he's kosher. B'chol mi sheyikabel Eidus Amoritz, kedim shetir lechazok azu, a kedim sheyaveu edim v'ya'idu shuneg b'mitzvos u'b'derech eretz is harei hedgetz. A person that's mekabel Eidus of an Amoritz, of someone that's eini b'mikra ve'eini b'mishnah, until we know for a fact that even though he's taka eini b'mikra ve'eini b'mishnah, but on the other end he's b'derech eretz, is harei hedget. V'asid litnas adin shari ma'abed mami Yisrael al pi rishoyim. He's accepting Eidus, and Memele is being made simamim from people based on these type of Eidus. But lepel, they're not kosher Eidus because midrabanan they're becheskas rishoyim, or they're becheskas rishoyim, and therefore midrabanan the apostle Eidus. V'chein halacha hey, v'chein habzuyim is also apostle Eidus midavreim. There's another psul that was another psul the Rambam mentioned was bzuyim. Habzuyim psulim leidus midavreim. V'heim ho'anoshim. What type of bzuyim? Anoshim shaholchin v'oichlin b'shuk lefnei kolam. People that go in the shuk and they eat holchin v'oichlin b'shuk lefnei kolam. So there's a lot of diyunim. What kind of gather of oichel b'shuk would go into the gather of someone that's apostle Eidus as a result of that? Because the Rambam Hilchos Deis, when the Rambam is speaking about Minhag HaChachamim, so the Rambam says over there that he's Eino Oichel B'Shuk. So it sounds like it's something that's Minhag HaChacham, someone a special mile of Chachamim. Doesn't sound like someone that's not in that mile becomes Pasal Eidus. So Mila, the Mefarshim explained that over here, they're Hoilchim V'Oichel B'Shuk Lifnei Kolam. So in other words, in a place of Mokim Meforsim, we're not talking about a person that's Oichel B'Shuk in a side place and he eats, not B'Fnei Kolam. So a Talmud Chacham Taka wouldn't eat b'shuk even not b'fnei kolam. Masha'in came someone that eats b'shuk not b'fnei kolam doesn't go into a gather apostle Eidus. To become a apostle Eidus, you have to be a oichlin b'shuk l'fnei kolam, and that's one issue, one way of becoming someone that goes into the gather of b'zuyim. Ukigein elu shehilchem arumim b'shuk be'ez shem eiskim u'malachim u'nuvelas u'kiyetzim ve'elu she'ena makpidim ala beishas. People are willing to be arumim b'shuk while they're being oisig b'mlachim novelas. So some taich means even while they're being oisig b'mlachim novelas. Because when a person is hilchin arumim b'shuk, when he's not oisig b'mlachim novelas, is certainly a person that's a buzzy. Masha'enka, when he's oisig b'mlachim novelas, and Memele, so maybe he doesn't want to get his clothes dirty, so Memele, and he wants to work, and therefore he's willing to take off his clothes in order to be oisig with this malacha. So the Churi, you could say that at that point in time, maybe he's not such a buzzy because Lepel is being oisik, and that's why he took off his clothes. So we say, no, the person that's Hoilchem Arumim while he's oisik b'mlachim novelas goes also into the gather of someone that's a buzzy. Shekol eluch shuvin kekelev, ve'ena makpid malei the sheker. So generally a person doesn't want to say the sheker. To say the sheker is a busha. So the fact that saying Eidus Sheker is a busha, that would hold a person back from saying Eidus Sheker. He knows, first of all, they'll find out that he said Eidus Sheker, it's a bizoyin, and maybe even klapi atzmei, it's a bizoyin klapi atzmei to be an Eid Sheker. Masha'inkin, a person that's Eina Makpid ala busha, he's a buzzy, so Mela, therefore he goes into the gather of a apostle. He's not a apostle in Atera, he's not a Rosha, he's a buzzy, but the Rabbanan said there's such a person, which chances are he won't be Makpid to say Eidus Sheker because he's not worried about busha, so he is Pasal Eidus midivrei. Then the Ram continues another example of a buzui. Miklal elo ha'oichlin stokah shel goyim b'farhesya. Someone that oichel stokah shel goyim b'farhesya, afal pi she'ef shelehem she'yizeinu mehem mitziner. So the fact that a yid is taking tzedakah from a goy is a bizoyin. In other words, it's like being mavaza yidden, that yidden need the goyim to give them tzedakah. So if a person needs the tzedakah, he needs the tzedakah of a goy. So there's an issue whether or not are you allowed to ask a goy for tzedakah at one point in time. Are you allowed to ask a goy for tzedakah? But over here the Rambam is saying a person that's eating tzedakah from goy, and lepel he's able to eat it b'tzina, and he's doing it b'farhesya, that goes into a gather of a bazi. That's the Hagdara what the Rambam says here. Nachamo. Miklal elo ha'echun tzedakah shel goy b'farhesya, afal pi she'ef she'yazenu lehem b'tzina. They're able to be oichel b'tzina and they're doing it b'farhesya. So then is mevazim atzmo lekach and ve'enim choshishim. So that person is a bazi. Again, the Rambam is not speaking about benegea, that the Rambam mentions also in other places that it's a chilul Hashem to take tzedakah and agoyim b'farhesya. But over here he's talking about the gather of being a bazui, that a person that's able to eat the tzedakah b'tzina and he eats it b'farhesya, which means he has no busha in the fact that he's eating this tzedakah of goyim. So that goes into the gather of a bazui. Kol elu psulim midivrei. So there's psulim deiraisa and psulim midivrei. We learned the psulim deiraisa is someone that was over on isa deiraisa in his chayiv malchus. A person was over on gezel midireisa, and that goes into a gather of Eid Chomos. A person that said Eidus Sheker, he was an Eid Zaym, and we know that he said Eidus Sheker. All these are psulim midireisa. And then there's psul midrabanan. So or someone that was mekabel a malvin a leva beribus is also, if it's ribus deraisa, so he's a pasul deraisa. If it's ribus derabanan, so then he's only pasul derabanan. There were things that the Rambam mentioned were psul midrabanan. Now that the Rambam continues halacha vav ma bin pasul eidus min atera le pasul midavreim. What nafkamina halacha is there if you pasul min atera midrabanan? She pasul min atera sheheid a bdusim betela aval pishalei hichrizu Allah bebatik nesiyas and bat midrashas. However, apostle midavreim tzarech achraza. Now, someone that's apostle midrabanan, he only becomes apostle through the achraza. The fact that he did what he did, or he is what he is, as a result, and that such a thing is causing to be apostle midrabanan, that doesn't make him apostle midrabanan until there's the achraza. The achraza makes, so to speak, the chaleis psul midrabanan comes through the achraza. Masha'en can someone that's apostle midraisa, someone that did an avera, which is chayiv and malchus. So when he did that avera, he became apostle, even though it was never muhukras on him that he's apostle. But later on, when we find out that he did the avera, so from when he did the avera, he's apostle. Masha'en can someone that's apostle midrabanan is not apostle midrabanan from when he did what he did, which caused him to be apostle midrabanan. He only becomes apostle midrabanan by the achraza lefichach. Kol eidus sheheyed kedem shechrizu olav, by someone that's apostle midrabanan. Apostle midavreim is tzarech achraza. Only by achraza he becomes apostle. Leficha kol eidus sheheyed kedem shechrizu olav mekabla meisei. And the reason for it is kadei sheli laabetz chusam sharei liyodu beishu apostle. Amei pisul el midavreim. So in other words, by apostle midiraisa you can't do anything. Lepel he was apostle. So economic people didn't know about it, but lepel l'achra ma'isa now we know that he was apostle minatera. So Memele, you can't go ahead and say, well, that Eidus was kosher. Mashen can apostle with the Rabbanan, be'emes, midiraisa, it's kosher. It's just that the Rabbanan said that he's possible. So the Rabbanan said, Einachinami he's possible, but since by saying he's possible, lemafreya, people will lose from it because they didn't know that he was possible. So the Rabbanan said, no, that he should become possible only b'shas hachras. Halacha zayin. Now, we learned until now that an Eid, which is a Rasha, is possible Eidus, some possible Eidus minatera, some possible Eidus with the Rabbanan. Now, all of these dinim we're talking about Eidus, that you need two Eidus to say Eidus, and if one of them, or both of them, is a Rosh, it's an apostle Eidus. Then there's a din of Eidechon Nam Bisurim. That on Legabi Yisurim, Eidechon is Naman. Legabi, the din of Eidechon Bisurim, there's no psul of a Rosh. That psul of a Rosh doesn't apply to the din of Eidechon Nam Bisurim. That's his halacha zayin. Eidechon Nam Bisurim, Aval Pishu Apostle Shari. This, even though for other idiots he would be apostle, but mitzad the din of Eidechon Nam Bisurim, the fact that he's a Rosh doesn't make him apostle. Shaharei, Rosh Ba'avera, Sheshochat, Ishchitosik Sheira. First of all, the fact that he's a Rosh Ba'avera doesn't invalidate him from being a sheikhet. The Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, I feel someone that's a Rosh Legabi Averas Chamuras from the Gimel Averas of Gilei Arayis. Nevertheless, he still goes into the gather of a person that's shchitasi is ksheira. Shari Rosh Ba'avera Sheshochat Shchitosik Sheira. And also, v'neman lemer kalacha shachatati. He's neman to say kalacha shachatati, even though he's a Rasha, then he would be pasul Eidus. He's neman to say halacha shachatati. And nachmer, even if he's a Rasha, legabi eating the velas. Legabi eating the velas. The Rambam says in Hilchos Shchita, even if he's a Rasha, legabi eating the velas. So even though if he has basar in his own house, in his possession, and he says that this basar is kosher, we don't believe him, because since he's a choshud on eating the velas, so we don't believe him that basar is kosher. But when he goes ahead and shechts lefanenu, and he says kahalacha shechatati, which you need him to tell us kahalacha shechatati, he's nama, because the person is not choshud that he's going to go be machshal acherim, even though he's a Rasha legabi this thing in itself. Nachamo eidachon nama bisurim afal pishu pasul sharidus legabi the psul legabi eidachon nama bisurim. There's no psul of a Rasha. Sharei Rasha ba'avera sheshachat shchitosik sheira. His shchita is kosher, even though he's a Rasha, and also v'naman lemer kalacha shachatati. He's also naman to say kalacha shachatati. Aval al chosher al dover ein naman al shalei. Aval naman al shalacher. Someone that's a chosher on something, so then he's not naman to say about what he has that is kosher, because lepel v'chosher that maybe he has an negia. Masha'ik and alacherim he is naman. That's a different psul. It's a psul, not a psul because it's ba'atzim a psul. Because we're choshed that maybe he's saying a lie for his own negil. Hal choshed al dover, someone that's a choshed on a certain avera, is yeshli loten bei lehoid bei lacherim. He can be a dayan legabi this Indian and also say Eidus, because chazaka ein adam chete kedei sheyahanu acherim. We're not choshed that he's going to go ahead and lie in order sheyahanu acherim. So therefore, as far as someone else is concerned, we assume he's saying the truth, and that's the gather of eidachanam bisurim, that we assume he's saying the truth. Ketzad neman amharetz leimar peiris pleini mu'usarim. He's allowed to. He's enamored to say that this person's peiris, which is not his, are mu'usarim, and also the namon hanechshad limker b'sar pcher, person that's choshed to sell b'sar pcher, so you can't buy by him basar because you're always afraid that maybe it's b'sar pcher. But he's able to say leimar that basar zeh shemecher pleini chulamei, that it's not pcher. V'chein kol kiyetze b'zeh mishar yisurim. Why? The fishaemes yisurim ala rishoyim. Rishoyim are afraid from doing an isser. So in other words, they're interested in stealing money, and mele the isser of connected to mammon, that's not emes aleim. And mele, if they're going to gain money from it to say that what they have is musarim, so we're afraid that they're lying, because ein mammon aleim means that the ema of doing something which they could get money from, that's not aleim. In other words, they're willing to go ahead and lie in order to get money. Masha'inkin, to go ahead and say that this is kosher when it's not kosher, so emas yisurim al hamoritz, even though ein emas hamaman aleim. Halacha tes malchi Yisrael le meidin ve'ein meidin aleim. Why? Shem becheskes almim bal izreya and ve'ein nechnoim tachas el adayonim. So there are people that are nichnas tachas el adayonim, so we don't accept Eidus from them because we don't have really a power over them, and al derazeh we don't accept Eidus against them. So Bekitzer, that was instituted in Malchi Yisrael, le meidin, v'le meidin aleim. Avol kein gadol is meidin olav, you could be made on a kein gadol, and also umeid hu lemelech bebezin agadol k'mish b'yan. A kein gadol says Eidus, but he only says Eidus to a melech. Now a melech, we just said before, Malchi Yisrael, le meidin aleim. So it means a malchi bis David, because malchi bis David, you are done. So a melech is, a kein gadol says Eidus for a melech, but he only says Eidus for a melech, Rabbi Sagot, Bezin Agadol, that's K'mish B'yarno. So a melech doesn't say Eidus, a Ken God doesn't say Eidus Stamazeh for anyone else, and for a melech, he says Eidus, but he says Eidus only in Bezin Agadol. Now the question is, Malchi Beis David, do they say Eidus? For sure, Malchi Beis David, you're done. The question is, do they say Eidus? So the Achrenim say that Lepel, since we say that a Ken Gadol, we learn out, B'tzat Kveidah Shel Ken Gadol doesn't say Eidus only for a melech. So Amalchim is David himself the Melech. So Mele he also doesn't say Eidus. He doesn't say Eidus for anyone. So Amalchim is David really wouldn't say Eidus. The question is only that the Achreinim, the Lechem Mishnah in the beginning of Hilchos, it doesn't say clearly in the Rambam, but the Lechem Mishnah in the beginning of Hilchos Eidus, the Rambam brings that a Kohen Gadol, even though he says that he ain't made Elo lemela bebezin agadol, but when dvarim amurim we're talking about dinim amanos, masha'inkin dinei l'mashal nefashos or dinim malchus. So over there is ein eitzel tvuna neged Hashem. So immediately you have to go ahead and say Eidus, even benegeya, even a kohen gadol in front of a regular bezin. If it's talking about dinim malchus or dinim nefashos, so if that's the din benegeya kohen gadol, again, and the Rambam doesn't say that befurish. But if that's the din l'gabi a kohen gadol, so immediately who adin l'gabi malchus bis David. So there's, even though a kohen gadol only is made lemelech in bezin agadol, that's talking about dinim amanos. Masha'inkin dinim nefashos and dinim malchus is different. Again, the Rambam doesn't say that clearly, but if you name that on in B'negei Ken Gadol, so then Al Huadin Malchi Beis David would have to be made b'dinin nefashos and dinim malchus, which would be a chidush.